without Doug tonight, but we have instead a very esteemed guest, Mr. Paul Kassander.
It's interesting. I'm talking to him, wonder why you never have me on. And I'm like, all right, he's going to have me on. And I'm like, oh, wait, the Final Four is tonight.
Oh,
the finals is tonight. Oh, let's have him on there. We can't do it during the Super Bowl because that's a Sunday show, so that wouldn't work.
Yep.
Let's do it when the biggest sporting event of the year is on.
Y'all don't have an ACC team up there, so why do y'all care?
Yeah, well, we had a Big Ten team, and I think they got eliminated right away, though. So
we're an ACC conference. Come on, man.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry.
That's right. People are already sitting there saying, "Tell us a joke, Paul." So I have the thing here. For those of y'all who don't know Paul, and I have to do I know that everybody knows you, but so we've got Paul Kassander. You are the father of Power Wash Store Nation. You started this, years ago. I think I met you at one of your first shows that you did, and when we first met and began our friendship, I took pity on you because you were loading like 1,000 5-gallon drums of soap into remember that auditorium that went down?
Oh, yeah. You had to go all the way down there. Yep.
And didn't have
we had to carry it all in and help do everything. Yep.
And then carry them all out, the ones that didn't sell. So,
which was
that was whenever I met you. That would have been 10 years, 11 years ago or so, probably.
Yeah.
Not more.
Time
I
flies.
had just started.
Yep. You were just getting into the business. And
yep. I'm
trying to give you a good joke, and I'm looking here, and Will Smith and Chris Rock are starring in a new movie together. It's a slapstick comedy. No?
Oh, pure Paul right there. So absolutely. You just reminded me why I don't have you on.
What's the difference between a hippo and a Zippo?
What?
One's heavy and one's a little lighter.
How can you tell if there's footprints how can you tell if there's an elephant in your refrigerator?
I would hope. I don't know.
Footprints in the butter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Thomas, I do ship to PA. However, I would really recommend talking to Eric and Lisa in York, PA. We have a franchise there. So you're going to be faster shipping, and I guarantee you cheaper shipping. York, PA, correct?
Yep.
Eric and Lisa sites.
They're one of the first franchises we got set up. One of the first two, and then they really do a good job up there serving up the Northeast.
And Eric's a master at building rigs and equipment, and he really has some impressive stuff coming out of there. I hope to be able to rival him at one point, but man, he does some impressive stuff. TJ, what's happening, buddy? I will be getting to see TJ here soon. It's Masters in Augusta, so.
Yep. See, another reason you have me on when everything's busy.
And somebody said working man right there. Much respect. I assume they're talking about you, not me.
No, I'm pretty sure it's you.
Yeah, I think it's you.
See, what I did is I went and I found an old dirty sweatshirt from when I used to wash here. My wash
company. Clean, yeah.
And I put that on, but it's here. Wait, there's some dirt right there, but it's probably just a food stain.
You can joke about it all you want to, but I can call you at 7 o'clock. You're usually in the shop. I can call you at 7 o'clock p.m. You're usually still in the shop. So, you're one of the hardest people. Doug Apt is joining us. Answer the phone, Ray. You're missing us. I know. I could have, but Paul's important. So, what we're going to tell you guys are important.
I'm surprised. I told him to answer it. He probably should have. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, let's hang up and start over. Answer that call.
I am so slow at the computer system. I mean, it'd take us the show would be done by the time I got the person, like Fred Johnson.
Yeah, never mind. I'll call Eric and Lisa. She's quick on the keyboard.
Lisa has fast fingers. Craig has said something. Paul Kassander Power Store, F9's #1 top-selling dealer in 2021. Thank you.
We're looking forward to Actually, I'm going to be in Nashville Thursday and Friday. They're doing an F9 and Deco free
That's right.
F9 Deco and training seminar up there.
That's right.
For
Mark
anyone.
Tuliano has logged in as well. He was just above Craig, so he'll be there for that.
Yep. Yep. Mark will be there, and then they're going to be doing some good training up there. So looking forward to that. Not looking forward to the drive so much, but I guess it's better than sitting in an office.
You're a road warrior. I did what 12 days on the road. 12 days on the road with you and Tim last year.
Yeah.
I'm last year.
That's his beard. Your beard there didn't used to be gray till you
until I
you rode with me for that many days, because then
you think Paul's Facebook jokes are bad. You ought to try them live. Ouch.
Or try riding with me.
Yeah. Yeah, you are a little scary of a driver. I'm married. I'm married to Tanya. I need to drive.
Yeah, but you were also in the back seat
sleeping,
listening to the 24-hour podcast pressure washing thing that they had going on, and then you just slept.
That's true. That's
so
true.
It was pretty easy for you, Tim.
Gas boosters.
I noticed that Tim doesn't want to ride with me anymore anywhere. He just drives himself now.
Yeah, well, no. Have you seen Tim's new truck? I don't blame him. Paul's going to get his money regardless. Yeah, true. I have noticed that about Paul. Paul.
Yeah.
Paul sends guys by like eyeball my store every now and then just to check me out.
I got my people out there.
Well, one of the things, when we were talking about doing this and maintenance and by the way, you said I've never had you on. Doug said he's asked you. So I got to say you have been asked, but Doug's usually my coordinator for these things. So, because I said, Doug, we've never had Paul on. He goes, I've asked Paul before.
That's because Doug knows better. It's not a too exciting of a show. No, we want people to stay on and watch. See, look, no more comments. Everybody.
There's 2 people watching. So yeah.
There's 2 people watching, and it's you and me.
Yep. So we were talking, this is probably different than a lot of the podcasts you're on, because we actually try to have fun and not be overly boring. But we're obviously going through kind of a real interesting time right now. You just shrunk. In the washing industry. So, for guys that are listening, I don't want to spend the whole, time on this, but let's just address supply chain issues and get that 800-pound gorilla addressed right there. What are we seeing?
Well, I think, what you're dealing with is, it's obviously unprecedented. Everybody's, I think, well aware of everything that's going on. I mean, and it's trickled down to literally everything that you can think of now. I mean, even Amazon is having shortages. We're being limited on purchases from suppliers to a certain extent. Some suppliers, they don't have it in stock and they won't even let you order it because they don't want to deal with all the back orders being in place. Mm-hmm. It kind of started last year, was really the big thing. Obviously with COVID and the shutdowns and everybody being forced out of work as not being essential, and all the shutdowns in China and all the different things that happened, that disrupted the chain. And then you had the big freeze last year in Texas, and that had a major impact on plastic and poly resin. And, I mean, basically, you have shortages in metal and you have shortages in plastic.
Right.
The 2 things that are literally in everything we consume.
Right.
So you have that, and then factories shutting down and supply, a year of COVID shutdowns and all that type of stuff happening. So you're seeing all that, hit now. Prices of everything are going through the roof because, supply and demand, that's just kind of how it works. There's not a whole lot you can do about that to stop it.
No. I mean, I can honestly say, I look at what my costs are, and I'm no idiot. I know what your costs are. and it's not like we're sitting here, literally getting rich off because the supply, the supply, it costs more because this machine right here, which cost $500 more than it did 5 months ago, it's not like we're pocketing the $500. It literally is.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the big thing. I believe a lot of people are starting to finally understand that, and actually our margins are lower now.
Yeah.
We've taken a reduction in what we our typical profit margin to kind of cushion the blow for people. It's been a challenge. I mean, we'll order product. Some of our vendors, Kohler's a very good example. So, we ordered Kohler engines 6 months ago. Still waiting to see them. We've had 3 price increases since we ordered them, and we haven't even gotten them yet.
Wow.
And they're one of the vendors. There's a couple of vendors that we deal with, a couple of suppliers that are out there that we deal with. It's not based on when you ordered, it's based on when it delivers. That's what we charge you then. So, you'll see some things like people are like, well, I can't sell it to you till I have it, but you can order it and pay for it now, and then you'll have to pay the difference when it arrives.
And we have no idea what price,
because we have no idea what it'll cost. Now we're not doing that. If we end up getting a price increase, we eat it. But we've seen price increases from 17% last year, I think, overall on the year to another 20% this year. Right. We have some vendors will get a price increase January 1st, and then January 15th, and then February 15th, and then February 28th, and March 1st, and it's like every 2-4 weeks we're getting an increase.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't help that everybody, I wouldn't say everybody, but quite a few people panic bought. Mm-hmm. And when the supply ran out, they ordered so much, so much product that, it broke the chain, like the toilet paper shortage, right? Mm-hmm. There wasn't a shortage of toilet paper. There was just people with 47,500 packs in their entire house.
Yeah. More than they'll ever use in their entire life.
They went back to Target to try to return it all,
Right. And people don't realize that, and think about COVID, whenever this all started 2 years ago, but Italy was one of the first places hit and was really, really hit hard. And like 95% of all the brass that's manufactured comes through Italy or something, at least as far as pressure washing pumps and heads.
Well, yeah, the majority of the pumps, Italy, you have Comet, you have General Pump, you have Udor,
AR.
you have PA, they all come through Italy. And between Italy getting hit really hard and the factories shutting down there, you had China, which, we don't really know the true impact of what really happened and shut down there. But I think we're seeing it now in actual, product shortages.
Right.
So, it's tough. We've done pretty well, I think, overall. I mean, we've been consistently ordering we do a lot of, private labeling where we have stuff built for us. So, when I order trigger guns, I have to order 1,000 trigger guns at a time. So we don't run out of that. When we do couplers, we order $50,000 worth of couplers at a time. Right. When we get hose, I order $100,000 worth of hose, and that gets us a 3 to 6 month supply sometimes on certain things. And
kinda, I mean, we're filling back orders that are
right.
And
so we've been doing pretty good with a lot of that. And it's just something that we're dealing with. The big issue, engines are, I don't know what's going to happen with engines. So that's going to be a real tough one. I mean, there's no, my understanding is really difficult to find even things like Predator engines.
Right.
Honda's, they're going on pressure washers and that's it. Nobody's selling replacement engines, and Kohler's, in short supply right now. Mm-hmm. Again, we got a lot on order, so we should be able to maintain the majority of demand, but
I'm seeing like cart style pressure washers with Kohler engines. and not just like stuff that's custom made. I mean, which you would never see a year ago. You would have never seen a cart style with a small Kohler pushing it. I mean, it's kind of crazy out there as far as just even what
Yeah,
you're seeing.
the small engine Hondas are very short supply. The 160s, the 200s, the 390s. I mean, I've had what do I have, like 23 air compressors on order, and I have no idea when we're going to get them because the people that manufacture the compressors can't get engines.
Right. I would say, there's some manufacturers out there. I don't want to call any names either, but I would say it rhymes with Gryton, and they make things that you would put. They make Bose feels, and a 26-week lead time with them is. Some people would have gotten what I just said. You obviously didn't, but
No.
26. It rhymes with Gryton, and they make Bose feels, but a 26 lead time with them. Triton hose reels.
Yeah.
But a 26 lead week time really doesn't mean anything because good and well you've had it ordered for more than 26 weeks.
Well, yeah, they're in reality their lead time is closer to about 50. Right. 48 to 50 weeks. We're getting stuff now that was ordered 11 months ago. So, exactly. I think, you'll start to see some of that come through. Part of the issue is they were working so hard to try to keep costs down and not have increases that they weren't buying metal. And the problem is metal is up 400%.
Right.
So, how'd that work out for you? And now there's nothing. So, we developed our own reels to kind of combat that because we couldn't get reels. Our electric reels, we have, I have like 1,000 electric motors inbound that I had to order.
Really? So we're gonna go with that.
We'll have our electric reels hopefully yet this year, but I can't tell you. I mean, booster pumps are a big deal right now. Yeah. Right? We can't get booster pumps. I have a couple hundred booster pumps on order, and nobody has them. And I can tell you what the issue is. Excuse me a second. My foot's falling asleep on me. The issue is electric motors. They can't get the electric motors. They have components. Originally, it was diffusers because of the poly. We've gotten through that. I mean, we're well stocked on diffusers and the repair components.
Thanks.
But
I can't. Damn it! I can't.
Wait.
There it is. There's
right over there.
There it is.
The cameras make everything backwards. It doesn't help. But we're able to get a majority of the repair components, but the brand new, motors and brand new pumps and stuff like that are going to be difficult. Now we've come up with a few options that will be coming out. We have the gas booster with the direct drive clutch drive booster, which I don't know if you got sitting one behind you there. Is that one of those or no? Is it?
Yeah, that's a 525. I've got the gas one back there, but I know it's out for bench testing still.
Yep.
I mean, it's not really available. And
yeah, well, that we have the electric clutches on order. So we'll be able to get, booster pumps out there, but they're going to be gas powered booster pumps, which really isn't a problem. I think it's a lot better for what we do in this industry and what we're looking at.
And we have the belt drive boosters, right?
And we do still have the belt clutch drive booster. We're doing that. We've done a few changes. We're working on with that. You can still get the clutch drive cube where everything's enclosed, but we're also making a model that's just basically just the clutch drive booster pump. Now, again, the issue with that is going to be the engines. So that's where, our problem is,
I have a
forcing the engines for that. Now we have a few options we're looking into, but, and we have a bunch on order, which they should all be coming in about the same time as the clutches and things like that.
I have a cube with a Kohler engine that has a proportioner as well, all in one nice big cube sitting here on the shelf.
Yep, we had a couple of those. I know PA has one, and you have one, and I believe I have one sitting in our shop here, manufacturing facility in Milwaukee. So, we have those that are available to people. So there's equipment out there. It's just maybe not exactly what everybody is looking.
Well, and the other thing about the equipment too is it's a lot of calling around that has, because I mean, where you are a major distributor of things, then you might have people like, I may have one electric hose reel. PA may have one electric hose reel. And sometimes you just got to call around and find the stuff and get out there on a little bit of a hunt, for it. So
yeah, there's going to be, every day is a treasure hunt.
Yeah, it really is.
What are you going to get from here and there?
And again, we can sit here and complain about supply all the time, but for all night for an hour, and I don't want to really do that. I mean, I wanted you to because I know you're an absolute equipment expert, and one of the things that since ever since back from the days of an association that you sponsored a lot of, you always were hardcore about maintenance classes, and now that you do the massive vendor showcase every year, you're still hardcore about equipment maintenance on there. And we've had Tim talk about rebuilding boosters. I've got pictures of you. You've got the cutaways of the pressure pumps and how to rebuild, and you've always been very hardcore on let's talk about maintenance on our equipment. And that's one thing I'd like to talk about here.
Yeah,
some of the things that people could do to help themselves.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the key for the next, year and a half, 2 years for sure to get through this. It's not like before where, I blew it up and I'll just go buy another one. And
literally, that was how I was at Spray Wash. Hey, Paul, I killed this. Have this to me in 2 days.
Yeah, I ran my machine for a year. I didn't bother changing the oil. It blew up. Just send me a new one. It's cheaper than messing around. I don't have time to do the oil changes. I don't have time to repack the pump. It's like, just give me another one. I'll just swap it out and get back up and running. So, those days are, right now, I think, gone for a little while. And I think regular routine maintenance, I guess a good benefit has been that for the most part, the common repair parts that you would use in the general pumps and the Udor pumps and engine parts and components actually haven't been all that difficult to get. I mean, we've been able to get pretty much everything we needed: replacement carburetors, coil packs, pull cords, handles, gas caps, whatever you might need, things that wear out, and that's been pretty well. The booster, Gould's has been pretty good at keeping up with us with our diffusers and things. So people that do have older boosters can get them to last. It's a matter of just, I think everybody needs to take a little more time to, really take care of their equipment.
Right.
Change
that oil.
Spray it down with the neutralizer when you're done. Either the Nutripods or Agent Halt, to get the bleach and the chlorine off of it and stop that corrosion. And, because you can't just let a bleach strip hit the pump for 5 days and eat through the entire casing of the pump and just say, oh, I'll just buy a new one. I don't have time to fix it. Absolutely. So,
I mean, I saw with the company, I saw a skid destroyed. I was about to say the company name, but I'm not going to. But the guys did not. There was a leak there at the air diaphragm pump where they did not retorque because you get it air diaphragm, and it's the expression the instructions are very, very clear: retorque this pump, because of shipping and everything.
You mean the writing all over the exterior of the box?
The tags that are on it, everything.
The tags, yeah.
And they didn't retorque it, and it dripped down onto the compressor, and it literally destroyed the compressor, and it destroyed it within 2 months period, of the bleach dripping down on it. So if there's ever been a time to take care of your leaks, take care of your drips, take care of your little issues, because the little issues become big issues in the end, it's just
right. And not even from a valve or whatever. I've had, even my own truck, my own wash truck, my guys would not replace a leaky swivel on a hose reel.
Yeah.
And, I did a lot of fleet washing, and, the acids would eat them up eventually and they'd start to leak. Well, instead of replacing the swivel, they just let it drip for a week. And then I, come back a week later and there's a hole in the bottom bed of my truck. And it's like, well, you could have stopped that. You just caused thousands of dollars of damage. And all you had to do was, just fix the leak. Take 5 minutes to fix the leak. So, routine maintenance, taking care of your equipment, paying attention to things, doing your regular inspections, that type of stuff, takes a little bit of time,
Right.
but it's going to save you, and not even the money, more the time. I mean, if you go down, I mean, there's a high likelihood that you could be down for weeks.
Yeah.
And
right, exactly. I mean, that's there you go. So some little problem that used to be able to rectify in 72 hours, now you could literally be down for weeks.
Yeah, or months. I mean, can
theory,
you make do with something? Perhaps, if a hose reel goes down, yeah, you can work without a hose reel, but you lose an engine or you lose a pump, just a really good example. We were talking to General Pump today, and they are 400 gear drives in the hole right now for their pumps.
Wow.
So
General Pump is.
Yeah, General Pump is 400 gear drives behind their orders and demand. Just to get even, they need 400.
Right.
So again, a container comes in, it might have 600 or 800 on it, but by the time that container comes in, it might be
sold out. Literally, be sold out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Michael Melton is wondering, will we sell the booster and clutch so we can use our own motor? Is that going to be an option of that?
The belt drive one will likely be available like that. The clutch, the direct drive clutch, we probably won't be doing that right away just because of the complexity of the wiring and installation and everything else. So perhaps eventually we will. Not something I've really thought about right now. It's kind of, we're trying to build it as a whole unit type thing.
I guess somebody doesn't like what we're saying, blah, blah, blah. They got as much substance as my 2-year-old SH sitting in the garage. Well, thank you so much for your comment.
Really see, I told you having me on was a bad idea.
This, you realize, so if you think that, you're a freaking idiot because you're willingly watching this. Understand that. So
you see what happens when you bring me on? This is what you get. I've never seen that on any other show. But hey, you know what? I can fix that. Well, let me see. Let me come up with a dad joke. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah.
Let's see. I
cover my 12-volt in red tape to encase the bleach strips.
Yeah, that
works of art. No, I mean, it's actually not a bad idea.
Let's see. I got to be careful what I read.
All right. Sorry for the
shade. Let's see.
Being the man in the mirror, All right, Samuel. You can stay.
So I was in the shop and saw a man throwing milk and cheese about. I looked at him and thought, how dare he?
That's dad joke and Wisconsin joke all together. Yeah.
Here's the thing about the dad jokes, that the dad jokes aren't for you. The dad jokes are for me. And what I love best about the dad jokes is the groaning and the moans. And when you just close your eyes to just kind of shake your head to not say that, that's the best. I think that's that's the best part of the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. The visceral reaction that you get from people wanting to vomit. Yeah, that's
is it wrong to enjoy other people suffering like that?
It is. It makes you have masochistic and sadistic. Sadistic when you enjoy inflicting it. Yeah. So that's what you are.
My wife gives me a one joke per day limit.
She Tanya doesn't. Yeah, that's enough. Tanya won't even listen to me anymore.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where it's at now.
They won't even listen to me at all. So what are some of the things we could do, and we've got the boosters, and we know that the boosters, we need to clean them out every now and then. We need to rebuild them. If you can run a little light acid through there to bubble out your the sodium
sodium
dropout,
fallout,
the
the sodium
calcium
buildup. Yep.
fallout, that lands on everything. It's great.
So here's one of the things that I don't know if some people will realize it, some don't. But actually, one of the ways to make your equipment last the longest is to use it.
Right. Yeah.
And
True.
use it a lot. Use it regular.
I had a call from somebody today who's like, man, I have not ran my booster in, like 4 months, and I turned it on today and now it's flipping breakers. And I said, well, here's what we need to do. I said, you've got some crud. You've got crud in there, and we need to get it washed out without tearing it all apart, and
yeah, so using it regular, regular maintenance. Yeah, that's, what's sad is I get that reaction from her too now.
Yeah, you get the same reaction from my wife as I do. Yes.
Yeah, I'm stepping up in the world.
Right.
Not only does my wife ignore me, your wife does too.
My wife ignores you too. I am my wife's one joke minimum. That's awesome. But so anyway, going back to where we
so using it more frequently, taking care of it. Actually, you don't want to empty the pumps out completely. You're better off storing it with a product in the pump than you are taking the product out and letting it be exposed to air, because in certain situations, like a booster pump, for example, the bleach that is in there, that residual that's left in there, will gas off, and that's what really causes that reaction and causes the problems. So one of the best things you can do if you're going to store your equipment for any length of time, let's say more than a week or two, anything that has bleach especially, but pressure washers, if you're storing it for more than, let's say, 30 days, booster pumps or anything with bleach, anything more than a week, I would say, is to actually run antifreeze through it.
Right.
And the antifreeze is going to do two things. Number one, it's going to lubricate the seals. It helps keep the seals soft and pliable. The O-rings, they don't dry out, they don't get brittle. It also helps stop the corrosion. The rust inhibitors and things that are in there will prevent the I'm getting all messed up here. Will prevent the corrosion from happening and actually help it to last longer. Especially pressure washers, when you store them for an extended period of time during the winter. That's one of the biggest things that we see with damage, is that water sitting in there will evaporate, and then the minerals in the water will begin to pit the seals and pit the seats and things like that. So then when it does operate, the O-rings and stuff that are in there that help create the seal get chewed up on the rough surfaces.
Right. And I want to point out a couple of things on here that Gene O'Neill said the only issue with the booster is a shaft eventually breaking, which is weird, because I dare say I have probably been through more booster pumps than most washers in the world. I mean, I ran 4 service trucks with it. I have literally never had a shaft break.
I've seen one break, and it may have been Gene's when he called us.
Weird. I've never had. So
yeah, if something like that to happen had to really bind up, or it was just a metal flaw from the very beginning that finally exposed itself. But I haven't seen that. I mean, I've seen tubes rust out. I've seen massive damage internally from the diffusers getting wedged and people just running them till they melted them down. I've seen stuff welded together like one big ginormous piece of plastic, but for the most part, I mean, I've seen
literally the case is rot off from SH to where you couldn't hold the tube on them before from incorrect drips coming from the intake on there, where it was leaking and wrapping around the intake of it. God damn, I've never seen a shaft break. It's kind of crazy, but it's one of the things. And this is where we said earlier,
you're the winner, Gene. You get the strange booster pump prize.
Yeah. Get rid of the little drips that you have on your system. And if you want to talk about preventative maintenance, if you see a drip, 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 and I don't care if it's water, soap, bleach, a mixture, or whatever, go take care of this. I mean, this is what's going to wind up killing things on your system. Wesley Aaron Youngblood wants to know, is that RV antifreeze or Prestone? Do you have a choice on that?
I personally prefer the car antifreeze. The RV antifreeze does help to a certain extent. It's going to give you a little bit of lubrication. The advantage is it's much more environmentally friendly if you do spill some. But it can freeze and get slushy, and it doesn't have the same lubricating qualities that you're going to get out of like a regular car type antifreeze.
I will never forget, I was at one of my early shows with you, and you had a pressure washer there. You had a skid, and you actually had a tank, and it was a tank for.
That must have been one of my January shows down in Florida that I have to winterize.
I am a Florida boy through. I'm a born and bred, native-born son of Florida. Never lived in a cold climate, and you had a machine here that had a tank, and I was like, "Oh, what kind of soap is this?" And you're like, that's antifreeze. And I was like, why would you put antifreeze in a pump? I mean, it's like, to keep them from freezing, to winterize it. And I was like, but we live in Florida. We don't have to winterize anything. So
that's where your extent of travel stopped at the border. There's no
well,
other state but Florida.
So Michael said, maintenance is good, but I feel like it's just as important. Correct knowledge of how to do your maintenance or fixing issues. Spent 2 days of my booster down because of a leak. Wound up, he was over tightening the barrel. Yeah.
And this is one of the things that we're going to be working on, that we're going to be developing a better video library. We do have some stuff online now, but I'm going to be developing a better video library of general maintenance techniques, general things to look at and fix, how your trigger gun works, how your unloader works, how to fix a chemical injector. I did a little bit of this at the PA show just recently. If time permits, we may do it in Nashville as well. But we're going to start doing a little more with that. PWNA show in October, we'll probably be doing a generalized, equipment class as far as, what to look for maintenance, what to do when your stuff breaks down, when you're out in the field, how to fix your quick connect with a rusty nail and an O-ring,
right.
That you found in the parking lot off a pallet. So because that's all you had, because your guys lost your O-ring pick. Yeah. Can't say that's ever happened before. Maybe once or twice.
That sounds oddly specific, Paul.
I fixed a chemical injector with a rusty nail and a piece of wire,
So I have a leak in my 525. I think I need a snorkel kit to fix it. Y'all sell snorkels? Yeah. I mean, and we've actually got videos. I mean, and that's one of the things, Paul, you're talking about. I've actually, now that I'm not running crews and through Spray Wash Academy, Spray Wash Pro, and here, I actually hope to be able to, and I know Doug is freed up, but we're really working on increasing education, increasing videos, and being able to sit here and say, look, I mean, because now everything's not in crisis mode for me for a job that I need to be on, a job that I need to fix or send crews out to. So I'm busier than I've ever been right now, but it's a lot less stress busy. I mean, stress level was here last year at this time. Stress level's down here at this time, but I'm just as busy. But
yeah, you're just getting started. Don't worry, your stress level will be, up here.
Thank you. I'll sell you a Florida franchise back
well,
here.
In reference to your water tank, I mean, there's a couple of things you can do. One, there are plastic welders, and you can actually weld plastic to seal it up.
Yep.
Depending on where the leak and what it is. I mean, sometimes a silicone might fix it, but actually a simple fix, depending on where it is you can actually drill it out and put a bulkhead in it and just put a plug in it.
Right.
And right now,
I
going to be getting a 525 gallon tank right now is, you're not going
to find one. I was just quoted 4 to 5 weeks out on a 750 for the back of my shop.
That's I don't know where they're getting that tank from. That's pretty amazing. But if you can find it, get it. But
Yeah, I
You
was a
know,
little skeptical on
that's
it.
something, you know.
And there's
So
also the heat weld method where you can heat it up and apply some more material to it. You kind of layer it if you can find the leak, the actual true leak, then heat it up and with a torch and or even a heat gun, get it soft, and you can work some more material into that leak on
yeah,
there.
you can use like there's basically a plastic welder, which is basically the same thing as like a soldering iron. You heat it up with that and then put plastic and fill it with that.
So comment here, Zach Hayes is dripping diesel. Tell you what, I heard one today, and actually I sent out 2 hose reels to a company, and this is absolutely crazy. I've never heard of this before, but a washer lost um uh, a washer lost 3 hose reels. I sent out 2 replacements to them. They were electric hose reels, and something went bad with the switch, and the motor engaged, and the motor caught on fire after it was brought back to the shop. Yes, sir. Wound up catching on fire. It was triple stacked. The middle one was the one with the problem. So the switch engaged the motor. The motor was spinning somehow, but the chain wasn't catching. It got hot, caught on fire. It melted that hose and the hose above it.
Well, no, that's a new one.
But they've been having problems with that. And this goes back to the maintenance. They had been having problems with that switch, and it's been acting weird for a couple of months. We now see the result of it. It's like, well, you'd hit it, and it would continue to spin, and it wasn't kicking on right, and we had to hit it again, and it would stop spinning.
Yeah, and that again, that's the importance. Something that was a $25 repair is now a
Well, I can tell
$1,000
you
repair.
exactly how much it was from our standpoint. It was about $1,200, including the shipping.
Yep,
And that doesn't include the hose that they probably $700-800 with the hose that they lost.
exactly. Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things. Small problems become big problems if you don't take the time to.
Jim Bob brought up Flex Seal, and as annoying and as nasty and as messy as that stuff is, it does actually work. Now, keep in mind, once you put it on something, you're going to have to use xylene to get it off, and you may melt whatever you put it on, with the xylene. But Flex Seal is amazingly good for.
Yeah, I've heard that actually does work pretty well.
Yeah.
We've gotten a few booster pumps back covered in Flex Seal to
Yeah.
try to fix the leaks and silicone and everything else.
Somebody, Jacob Dehel, how do you install a bulkhead?
Well, you drill a hole that's the size of the bulkhead. That's the first thing, and it has to do with a hole saw. You can't do it with like a really small drill bit and try to rotor zip it out because you're going to have a lot of problems. So I would use a hole saw, drill it out to the size. Some of the tricks for getting it down in the bottom of the tank, you can actually use a piece of string and run it from the hose up to the top, and then put the bulkhead on the string and then let it slide down the string to the opening, and then hold it with your hands and put the nut on to tighten it.
And you reach in there like that and pull it back through. Yeah, we've done several. I've literally taken duct tape and put a ball of duct tape on the end of a drop tube and reached down there through it and fished it through it that way.
And then the duct tape fell off, and then you had to send Finn down in to get it.
Well, actually, for Jacob, I would say you'd need to cut a hole big enough to get into the tank. So that basically is tank size, Jacob.
Yeah, Jacob, I think you cut the top off your tank, climb inside, and then you can hand it in really easily.
So this is why I've shut off switches to our hose reels. Exactly. I said the same thing. I said, I'm going to now recommend a boat cutoff switch.
Well, every reel, and even in the instructions, every reel is supposed to have either a resettable breaker or a circuit breaker on it.
Really?
Yeah, that is in the instructions. So a couple of things could have helped prevent that. So we use a inline resettable circuit breaker when we wire all ours up, so that if there is ever a short, it'll trip that breaker before it melts everything down. Because a ground or something hitting it, if something grounding out, cause those wires to start melting, you can burn your entire rig to the ground. He's actually lucky
literally
that it didn't travel back to the battery and start something else on fire.
No, this person actually parked their rig in the garage, and the employees came in and they said, "Hey, boss, we think that rig is on fire back there." And it was Friday, and it was like, "Oh, April Fools, ha ha ha!" And then they're like, "No, it's serious. It's on fire." Yeah,
what a great day
ha,
for
ha.
a fire! Oh, I didn't just fooling with me.
They're probably 5 minutes later than they should have gone and checked it. But yeah, I mean, it's thing. Somebody said, and Gene is saying he's got a 600-gallon fiberglass tank if anybody's in need, willing to sell. Stuart, Florida. Solenoid stuck open. Stephen Button, use a really small employee. Yes,
that's what I said. Finn would be perfect. He can fit
in there. Anthony
fit in there,
had his wife
in the top.
There. And Bill Wilson is joining us. Lance works on there.
Yep. Yeah, we used to, before I figured out the string trick, and I don't know why it took me so long to do it, I used to drop the bulkhead in the bottom of the tank and then use a lance to try to push it to the opening and feed it through.
No, Jacob, if you cut the top off the tank, you could fit in there.
And then you have a summer cooling pool.
Oh, I love it. So, the other thing on the boosters, we still recommend this. If you can find a way, and it makes it a little bit tough, but if you can find a way to introduce some type of acid, if somebody had mentioned earlier about the Agent Halt on this before we got on the antifreeze comments on the pressure washers, but for a booster pump, if you can find a way to introduce some type of HCl into it, a very mild dilution of it, because a bleach neutralizer such as the Agent Halt, sodium thiosulfate, or the other ones that are out there, they may neutralize a bleach, but it's not going to necessarily eat off the compounds in the boosters over there that are sticking to the booster right there, that are sticking to all this. And if you haven't seen our videos on sodium dropout and the problems you get in boosters, I really recommend you look at that over on the Spray Wash Academy YouTube page, because these diffusers, the impellers, your three-way ball valves, all of them get gummed up with a layer of sodium and calcium dropout from the water that binds to it. And it's not the booster slinging it out necessarily, because we even see it on the check valves and the three-way ball valves before the booster. But if we can get that out of the system with a mild acid, a 10-to-1 muriatic, maybe F9 cut down 5-6-to-1 or so, run through our system a little bit.
Yeah, you got to make sure. It's also very, very important that if you're ever going to do that, you have to make sure that you flush all the bleach out of there and you don't have it anywhere near the bleach, because you just don't want to.
You don't want those two to mix. That's bad.
Right.
Bad. Yeah.
Very bad.
I've always felt, that little port that's on that little port
on the side,
that would be the perfect way to introduce acid into your system in there.
You could, and because that would be, if the way we plumb them would be after the master check valve, so you won't backfeed the system. It'd be impossible to backfeed up into your proportion or anything like that, and you could take that out and use a little 12-volt pump and actually force it through.
Right. Gene just said I have a solenoid I need to replace now. Guys have been using a hammer for a week now. Yeah, and I'm happy to share information like this. It's true. What I'm telling you, the guy's rig almost burnt down and he lost 2 hose reels. Absolutely.
So Gene, I guess if they're I'm curious how you would use a hammer to turn it off. Are they just pounding on it, or beating on the wires till they break or something? Jam it into the gears to keep it from spinning. I'm wondering how a hammer works to shut it off.
So what we're talking about on these boosters is, so you have no idea. I've been doing these videos now for like 5 years, and it's so cool to have a shop where if I think of something, I just go over off the shelf and pick it up,
Yeah. And it's new and it's not all busted up.
Not
right?
covered.
That's kind of nice too,
not
right?
Rusted out, but
yeah.
So this is a port right here. And you could, in theory, take this out, put a, what is that, a quarter inch, and you could inject into there.
Right. Yeah. If you had a little like a SureFlow pump, or even any type of 12-volt pump,
Right.
screw a quarter-inch pipe thread by whatever size uh, barb of hose that you have, and then just connect it. You can disconnect the outlet. You could actually, if you didn't want to run it through everything, if you have the pro switch on it, just unscrew the pro switch off it, force a little bit of acid through the pump alone, and then flush it out really good, and then you're back in business.
Aaron Ritchie uses a hammer to fix his computer issues.
That's strangely true.
Yeah, oddly specific.
Yeah.
Oh goodness! All right.
He's got a special keyboard with oversized keys for his big hands.
Yeah, that's an understatement right there. So I think that's the last Gould's pump that's in existence right now.
I think it is, because I know we don't have any. Now that I see that there, I may have to recall that one back.
Am I getting repossessed?
Yeah, corporate needs that for a build that we got going on.
Yeah, it's only a 3/4, so
yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It's better than a 0/4.
Yeah, just true. That is very true. It's kind of crazy. Belts. Are we sitting pretty on belts and all that?
Yeah, I mean, belts and most maintenance components were pretty good on. There's some weird things that you're going to see shortages on. Some stuff that you used to be able to get in a fairly reasonable amount of time. That were out there, like somebody wanted a gear multiplier, and it's not often that, maybe sold 10 in the last 20 years, right? It's not something that we sell a lot of. It's not a real common item that we have, but they're 24 weeks out on them, I think, is what it was. And I was like, wow, that's weird that nobody ordered it. So the stuff that we don't, normally sell, the top, 20% of our items, which make up probably 80% of our sales, 80% or 90% of the overall industry sales, the top, 500 or 1,000 items, those are pretty readily available. It's, when you got a weird pump, I got a TSF 1746 B8, W, whatever, and they're not going to have a kit for that because they sold 20 in the last 15 years. So it's they can get it, but yeah, we'll put it in production type thing.
So Rich and Marie, Rich just, that's amazing. Hook a line to agent haul at the end of the day, inject a good half gallon, 20 seconds into it. Got one pump that's lasting almost 4 years.
So one of the things you can do with your proportioner and booster pump setups, if you really want them to last and not really have to run the acid through them maybe once a year, and this is something Ray never did, is use them for rinsing.
Yeah.
If you turn the flush valve at the top and run water through the bleach line and use them for rinsing and washing down, Tim is a perfect example. Here's a guy that, ran those for years and years and years and years. And I think maybe he went through, 2 booster pumps or 3 booster pumps, and more so from him taking them apart, 7 times a week to see if anything happened to them than damage he ever got.
Well, I always swear that was why ours lasted like they did. But at the same time, so I had 4 trucks with booster pumps on there, and I ran through about 8 booster pumps a year. But even if it didn't go through the proportioner, which it won't even get on, first off, our proportioner the proportioner, not our, the proportioner there has.
You're blocking it with your head.
There. It actually is the only one that I know of that's actually made with Kynar and Hastelloy springs on the bleach check valve. But even I would, maybe if I wasn't using like double water on that, I'd hit the 3-way valve and we'd run 400 or 500 gallons of water through that thing after we got done washing it. And it was incredibly good for the booster. whenever our boosters crapped out, we calculated that the boosters had made us $60,000 to $80,000 a piece whenever they died. I mean, I'm high-fiving the crews. Yes, you killed a booster. Good job on there. And that's not including the pressure washing we were doing. But so $1,000 pump for $60,000, $80,000 worth of profit on there or work on there. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take those odds every day.
Yeah, but if you do take care of them more and rinse them out more frequently, using for rinsing, like said, there's he's got one that's running 4 years.
Yeah. You guys have any stacking kits for the machines? Stacking kits for reels? Yeah, stacking kits for pressure washers.
Well, we have the tables that we make.
Yeah.
The small platform.
I don't know, Mark. Call Aaron. He's right by you, or yeah. He can hook you up.
We do have the small platforms available. You can see a lot of them on builds. PA uses them quite a bit. Nashville, Milwaukee. I mean, everybody that's doing the builds has been using those quite a bit.
Yeah, I've always heard some people. I've heard there's always been some people that have had problems with boosters. And there's the next comment I'm going to read though. But Rich said run a 3-way ball valve on the soap line. One to AW, one to agent halt. Throw 2 waters, halt through the system, let it sit. I mean, it's a great idea.
Yep.
So Jim Bob and Jim Bob's going through 6,000 gallons of SH in a season. They rebuild once a season on there.
Yep.
Again.
And I can tell you the newer some of the newer diffusers we've been getting this last batch of black diffusers where they switched to the and it was a product of, again, supply chain issues. They always used a glass-filled poly for their diffusers, and the impellers were always the polypropylene, just a straight polypropylene. Now they switched their diffusers to the same material they were making the impellers out of, the black polypropylene. And we've had extremely good luck with that. We had one person that was rebuilding their pump sometimes 3 times a year. And he went through an entire season and they were brand new. We put them all back in at the end of the season. He's going on his second season now with the same diffusers. So it's just a matter of, taking care of it. And I forgot to do Steve Button's stacking kit. I'm working on it, Steven.
You're a horrible person, aren't you?
I gotta take care of an email for a second. I gotta make sure I get something done.
So Wesley, I think you're close to you either call me at the store tomorrow, 850-701-9274. Or I think if Aaron's close to you, holler at him. He can hook you up. Just mentioned more than me making a sale. If you're close to Charlotte, Aaron Ritchie, then we have one in Nashville. Those guys, I'd much rather you guys just get fast service. So call the Power Wash store closest to you. Darren P said he has a 2 horsepower booster available use for 3M. 3 million. Boosters last forever, except the one for the shafts. Apply and rinse, and they last. You got a smiley face from Stephen Button.
Yeah, that's because I screwed up and didn't get his custom platform.
You're a horrible person.
Yeah, I really am.
You're on this show, so it's my fault.
I am. I would have gotten it done, Stephen, but Ray made me come on this show and I was going to do it tonight. So
no stacking kits for dual 550 tanks. I don't even know.
I don't think you could stack 550 gallon tanks very well.
Dual. I'm a little lost there. All right. So what else? What other maintenance what's some easy maintenance people could do to make their stuff, to avoid the supply crunch? We talked about stopping water leaks, stopping bleach leaks, obviously.
So number one is going to be any leaks that you have in your system. Whether they're air leaks, whether they're water leaks, any type of leaking issues. Air will destroy pumps, pressure, 12-volt booster, diaphragm pumps. Air is the enemy. And it's very important that you're, maintaining your connections and keeping an eye on those things. If you feel any type of cavitation or see excessive vibration or feel any like chattering in the line, that's typically a sign that you have an air leak. So you're going to want to make sure you monitor your connections,
Right.
drop tubes, things like that. That's probably the biggest one. Obviously, water leaks you can always see. You'll always see water leaks. When you start getting a leak, take care of it right away. Take the time to fix it right away.
Well, literally,
Because a
take
small leak,
10, 20, 30 minutes.
and it's, it was always less about the cost of the repair. I mean, the damage that it did, but the efficiency drops. A great example. We would wash trucks.
To do it, but then again, it's the time that we think that we go in our minds going, oh, it's going to take this time to do this. But what you just said, the efficiency loss, we don't think about the efficiency loss that we're having where, think about whenever you get a brand new whisper wash hooked up to an 8-gallon. In fact, I had a guy come in today going, holy crap, I need to get, he's like, I need to get some 2503s or 2504s. I cannot keep my new whisper wash on the ground. And he had a relatively new 8-gallon a minute pump. And he got a brand new whisper wash. And think about anything, the booster pump, a pressure washer, how amazing it is whenever it first runs, when we first hook it up and it goes. And then the efficiency, as wear, the efficiency lowers and lowers and lowers and lowers on there. And we wind up trading out this efficiency loss just because we don't do sometimes things wear out. But a lot of times the efficiency loss is caused because of our lack of maintenance on things.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. When we would wash fleets, a small leak, you'd lose half a gallon of a minute of your flow. And instead of doing, 30 or 40 trucks an hour, you're down to 25 trucks an hour. And, that 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 minutes to fix that one issue, your loss of pressure, your loss of flow, your loss of production, it just got a lot harder to make, to do the job. And booster pumps and whatever it might be. It's just, I can guarantee you that there's not a single person on here that does any washing that's had a leak or had a problem doesn't know exactly what we're talking about.
No, 100%, and probably some guys will go out tonight or tomorrow and go, yeah, I need to take care of this water leak now. And it'll help you. And all of a sudden you'll get back 10, 15% efficiency. And think about this. Whenever we first all switched to 8-gallon, we went from that 4 to the 5, and then we went from the 5-6 to the 8-gallon a minute. We're like, oh my God, this is so much faster and so much better. But how many of us have 8s that aren't actually putting out 8 anymore because we've got air leaks and water leaks and they're kind of barely hanging on? Gene brought up a lot of issues from not having proper water filters.
Yeah. So one of the things with the water filters that we'll see actually quite a bit is that people will have a tendency to buy really high mesh filters. Mm-hmm. So the way water filters are rated is it's rated by the mesh. So it's basically the amount of cross hatching within the filter. You'll see ones that are 40 and 60 and 80 and 120. So the higher the mesh, that means the more crosses there are. But what that does is that creates such a small opening that it can actually restrict the flow of water into your unit. And if you're, especially down south, where you deal a lot with algae growth within the tank, if you get a screen mesh filter that's really tight and really fine, it'll actually clog up really fast and cause restriction issues for you. I always liked a 40 or 60 mesh filter, nothing smaller than that, or no more mesh than that, no larger, I don't want anything. I don't want a 120. I don't want a 160 or a 200, 40 to 60 was good because it's going to stop all the larger debris that can get through your pump. It's going to allow maximum flow. Any of the smaller stuff that's really not going to cause a problem with the unit is going to, work its way through. Now, are you going to get a piece of plastic through there sometimes, or a small string, or a piece of Teflon tape? Potentially. but that's all part of your regular maintenance and not letting, pine needles and everything drop into your water tank, Ray. I mean,
Wow, oddly specific again.
yeah,
So,
so that kind of stuff will help you to, maintain the
didn't you find you
effectiveness and the
found the
efficiency.
bird's beak? You found a bird's beak in somebody's proportion.
Yeah, somebody had a bird beak in their proportioner, Ray. I mean, somebody.
Somebody. Um, Machine stopped charging the battery. You have a check this first, check this next suggestion.
Well, first thing you could start is put a load test on the battery. If your battery's more than 2 years old, more than likely it just needs to be replaced. Batteries do have a lifespan and charging cycles depending on how much load you're putting on them. If it's just starting and stopping the pressure washer, typically they'll last a really long time because you're not drawing. The only thing you're drawing off is when you restart it. First thing I would check though is if it's new and you're not getting charging. On the Hondas, right on the side by the key switch there's a bunch of wires that connect together. There's a couple of gray ones and a black one and white one. You want to make sure that those pin connectors that are in there are clean and corrosion free. I see a lot of them where they're just totally green and full of corrosion. I know Steve Button had this issue with his quite a bit with some bleach getting on him. He ended up cutting those connections, and making permanent liquid tight connections with crimp fittings and heat shrink terminals. That fixed some of his issues. He was chasing that for a long time. We actually just had one when I was down there in January looking at his equipment. He was having an issue with one charging, and one of the spade terminals that where the pins connect got crushed and wasn't making contact. So he cut it, put it back together, and it worked fine. So start with your connections. That's usually where the issue is, corrosion. Just being around the bleach, it doesn't even have to get any on it. Being exposed,
just the fumes, the off gassing of the bleach can cause.
Up north, it's a matter of the salt and stuff typically getting into the stuff and driving down the roads. Just corrosion, that salt and everything just eats everything up. Dielectric grease on connections before you put them together makes a big difference. It'll stop and protect the terminals from getting corroded where the regulator plugs in. So that would be where I would start. After that, you can look for burnt wires or singed wires, and potentially you have a bad regulator or something.
So Scott also made
extremely rare that the stator under the flywheel ever goes bad. I mean,
he made the comment that it's only 2 weeks old. So
I would start with checking all the electrical connections.
Yeah.
And more than likely, if it's brand new like that, there's just a connection that's bad.
Yeah, that's where I would go, because that would be very strange for it to not be coming out from the factory good like that.
So I got a message here, Ray, that one of your fellow franchise owners is not happy with you.
Why?
Because you're talking about you talked about PA, and you talked about Nashville, and you talked about Charlotte. You talked a little bit about Milwaukee, but the one that's closest to you doesn't get any love.
Oh my God! You mean my little buddy in
San Antonio? Yes, San Antonio.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, you're right. I was gonna say, damn, Mississippi, but yeah, San Antonio.
No, the other little buddy.
And guys realize that. So, you even heard me telling somebody, talk to Aaron out there. But so, Paul, it's not really my job to do this, but God knows I'm the biggest. Hell, I've been the biggest raving fan for Power Wash Store, probably more than any other person out there. I mean, I'm the guy that introduced you to Tim and said, make this. I mean, this is a good thing for the industry. And like I said, I've been with you since you started, but we've got locations in Milwaukee. Bill Wilson, who's been with you a long time, and God knows he can recite part numbers.
He's been with since almost the very beginning when we started Power
amazing.
Wash.
Bill and Jessica, absolutely incredible. We've got Aaron Ritchie, who's forgotten more about brick than you and I will probably ever know.
Why are you pointing the gun at my head like that?
What's that?
Why are you pointing the gun at my head like that?
It's a microaggression. Sorry. Yeah. We've got Eric and Lisa, and Eric and Lisa were they're just like basically a Yankee version of Tanya and I were. A dynamic husband and wife duo. We've got Nashville now with 3 veterans that are owning it, that are absolutely incredible. We have Steve Hill, and you talk about another expert in his industry, Steve Hill in Tupelo, Mississippi. That's just, again, silly how much he knows about fleets, about fleet washing. That's what he does. I called Steve the other day because I've got a customer who's trying to start a fleet washing thing here in Tallahassee. And Steve went and he goes FaceTime me, he showed me, one of his fleet washing rigs and says, Ray, this here's what we do. And we're going to take a 3-way ball valve, for washing. And okay, so I sound a little bit like Steve, except he was only up to about here when he said it. Holding the phone up, to the bed.
I'm waiting for the response here. I'll let you know what he says.
I mean, all of these guys are amazing. Then we have, Nick Weissenberger in Iowa, out in the middle of farm country. And then David Mottaqueen in San Antonio, Texas. I mean, we've got the middle of the country to the eastern seaboard covered out here. And we gladly sit there and send people back and forth to each other because, again, I'm not worried the 40 or 50 or $200 that I make on a sale isn't going to make or break me. I'd be worried about you as a contractor getting awesome service. And Steve must have said something really ugly since. He
just calls me the names he normally calls me.
So, Steve's
nothing I can repeat amazing. In public.
So Carlos Gonzalez, he's joining us. On your skids, keep the oil changed, replace those fuel and oil filters, check your belts, keep a spare unloader handy. 100%, Yep. Guys don't give enough credit to checking their unloaders and replacing their unloaders. And sure, you can rebuild an unloader, but why would you? Same way that I feel about rebuilding a downstream injector. You sent me like a dozen downstream unloader injector rebuilds. And I'm like, I'm never going to sell one of these. I will literally.
I had to get rid of my old stock.
Yeah, exactly. I had a feeling like Paul's like, oh, wait, there's shit we haven't sold in years. Send that to Ray. Because I'm going to tell you, don't rebuild your unloaders. Or not your unloaders. Don't rebuild your injectors. Buy 4 injectors. You should have 2 on every truck because they're going to die. They're POSs and they're going to corrode out and die. Stephen Button, replace high pressure pump check valves, helps optimum performance. Rich, anything we can do to clean or flush the pro switch? Having problems with lots of crap and corrosion getting into the line going to the switch.
Yeah, I mean, you can disconnect it has a garden hose fitting on it. You can disconnect the garden hose fitting and dip it in a little bit of mild acid, some bark or, Efflow or something like that. A little diluted is a good option for that. Aluminum brightener, whatever, to kind of eat away some of the corrosion. We did go with larger fittings on the last couple of generations of that, where there's quite a bit. It's a 1/2-inch pipe instead of a 3/8 that we were originally using, so that you can deal with a little bit more corrosion buildup without having any issues or clogging. It's kind of one of those things that we're trying to use the best materials that are available to us to do this. We would use probably more stainless if it was available, but we're having issues, being able to find that. One of the keys is, though, if you are rinsing and running water through your booster pump and everything, at the end of the day, that will stop that from happening and getting really bad. It's when you just run bleach through and then put it away for the night, and then just let it sit for a while.
Sorry, I had to go behind. I saw a comment that I had to go get this box here for behind the sales counter. Sean mentioned schedule the maintenance on the calendar just like a job. If not, you'll put it off for too long. 100%. Yep. You literally need maintenance days on there. We've talked. We've talked on this podcast before about SRT, strategic reserve time. And Tanya, I'd look at the calendar every now and then and be like, 2800 Pine Ridge Road. That sounds, oh wait, that's my house. she would literally put our house because to be cleaned, because I would put it all. Yeah, honey, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I'll get to it. Sometimes you have to actually schedule these things or it won't get done. Now, Scott Stone made a comment of replace your nozzles, replace your tips. That will kill your cleaning efficiency. These things wear out. Would you speak to that for a minute, Paul?
Especially if you're like, I did a lot of fleet washing. I did a lot of two-stepping, and I would have to change nozzles really every week, basically.
Right.
When you're running acids through, the spraying system's nozzles are a much longer lasting nozzles than the general pump nozzles, because they're machined out of a one piece of stainless, where the generals would use a carbide insert. If you're running just water, the carbide insert nozzles will have a tendency to last a little bit longer as far as keeping their overall opening size the same, but they can wear a little bit more, and the pattern of the spray will change. So just the friction of the water alone will change the pattern of the spray nozzle. Again, like anything, they wear over time. The more mineral content in the water, the more aggressive your water is. Think of it like water jetting. What is it? It's a slurry in water pumped at high pressure, and it can cut metal. Well, these tips are metal. Just the mineral content in water alone will begin to wear away at that metal and just tear it up.
Well, I mean, people don't realize the power of the Grand Canyon was made by water.
I mean,
I
thought it was aliens.
Water flowing. Well, unless you're one of those flat Earth guys, then where it just dropped. Never mind. I'll stop there. I mean, the power of water can erode metal. It can dull things. It can torture people. I mean, it's really, really.
That got dark really quick.
Yeah, I did, didn't it? Sorry, I went all Guantanamo on you. So Nick is a person. So tell Steve, and I want to give a shout out to Steve Hill. Literally, Nick came in the shop, and I was telling him about Steve. Going, this guy has forgotten more about fleet washing than I'll never know. And this is where Steve went out there and showed me the video where he went and held his camera up on the deck of his trailer, showing me, and a simple, cheap two-step device out there, and it's amazing. It was incredibly smart, and you'd waste a lot less chemical, and you're not going to spend $2,400 for a startup business on a 3 hose two-step process on there. And Steve is, and I think all of us at the Power Wash store, every one of us franchise owners, are willing to help each other and talk each other through problems.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's really great about the crew that we have, is that everybody really has a very good area of expertise. And that really helps to help all the customers and people that we talk to get the best advice that they can get, because everybody's had a washing company and been washing for years. We're not a guy that's washed for a year and decided I'm going to start selling parts and equipment because I know everything. It's Steve has over 20 something years of experience. Aaron has a ton of experience. David, everybody,
right?
Nick and Lisa and Eric, and Nashville runs a wash company, and everybody just really understands that. Bill, with his knowledge of the industry, so everybody's really got a very strong background in the cleaning industry to really help give the correct information. And there's a difference between being right and being correct, because you can be right. Yeah, it works, but are you correct? And is it really the right thing? Is it really the correct thing?
I guarantee you 100%. I can go out here and I can attack. I'll give you a great example. I can be right about this. I can attack F-flow with muriatic acid. I guarantee you I can kill most F-flow with muriatic acid. However, if I went and attacked it using the F9 cookbook and using Craig's, methodology, and then using his F9 product, it's going to go a lot easier and a lot safer for me. So there's right and then there's correct.
Right. Well, another good example would be I can get calcite build up off the surface with pressure in a turbo nozzle.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
doesn't mean
That's
it's
the best
right.
way to
Yeah,
do it,
because
you
did
know?
I get it off? Yeah, but
Yeah,
was
it's
it
gone.
correct?
So
No,
is
it's
the
not
surface
correct
of the
because I
brick.
destroyed the surface in the process. So
Yeah.
there's being right and there's being correct, and it's more important to be correct than it is to be right. So that's why I typically don't jump on a lot of things
A lot of
because
conversations. Yeah.
just
Well, that and the whole time thing. So here's a great question from Melton. Uh, is it really bad for pups to turn down and adjust your unloader all the time, or is running your unloader turned or running your pump with the unloader turned way down? What's your opinion on that?
it's not. So the pump is just a pump. The pump is designed to do one thing. It's designed to pump water. The pump really doesn't have anything to do with pressure other than the fact that, that pump, a TS 2021, for example, is designed to pump 5.5 gallons a minute at 1450 RPM. That's what it does.
Right.
It's not designed to, doesn't create pressure, doesn't do anything. What creates the pressure is the nozzle.
Right.
How much water can I force through the smallest opening at 5.5 gallons a minute? Where the pressure rating comes is they say, okay, well, this pump is capable of handling up to 3,500 pounds of back pressure that is created by that particular nozzle. That back pressure, what it does is it puts stress and strain on the bearings, and they rate it for continuous duty. So this pump is rated to run with a certain amount of load against those bearings for a certain amount of time without blowing up or generating too much heat or breaking, so that they can run X number of hours under full load. They also take in consideration the materials themselves. Can that pump can produce 5,000 psi, but it's you're getting past up near the burst rating of the pump, usually 5-to-1 or 7-to-1, 4-to-1. It depends on, there's all different kinds of ratings, but you don't want to exceed the pressure rating of the pump just because you're overloading the bearings.
Right.
The unloader serves basically one function. The unloader is think of it as a safety device. It's a regulator. Whatever that unloader is set at, whatever cannot go out that nozzle is set into a bypass at that pressure. So if you set that unloader at 500 psi and you're running a 5.5 nozzle, you're only going to get maybe 1 to 2 gallons. I'd have to look at a nozzle chart. You're only going to get maybe 1 to 2 gallons out of that nozzle. But now if you go ahead and throw a 50 nozzle in there or a 40 nozzle in there, all of a sudden you're going to get the full 5.5 gallons a minute. So I guess the long way to answer your question, or the short way to answer your question, is no, it's not going to hurt the pump to do that, because it's just going to bypass the remaining water, whatever you can't get out of the nozzle. The issue you have to deal with is, how are you bypassing? Are you bypassing back to the inlet, or are you bypassing back to a tank? If you're bypassing back to a tank, the heat that's generated from the friction of the water running through the pump is going to be dissipated in your tank, and you can run for hours and hours and hours and hours without generating enough heat to damage your pump. If you're recirculating back to your inlet, you'll actually, and you're only putting out, let's say, 1 gallon a minute out of a 5 gallon a minute pump, you're going to generate heat over time, and eventually you can overheat the pump and then soften your seals and begin to cause damage. So it's not going to hurt the pump to turn it down. But typically you don't want to be turning it up and down, up and down, up and down, especially if you don't have a gauge or you don't know how to set it properly, so you don't damage the unloader or damage the pump by overpressurizing it.
So what you're talking about right here, so if you're going to a tank is one thing, but if you've got a loop on it like this right here, underneath this baggie, it's a brand new pump, sorry. But so you've got this loop going out of the unloader, going back into the water connection on there. That's what maybe a 18-inch hose, right?
Yeah.
And
probably 10 or 16 inches. Yeah.
that's not giving you a whole lot of leeway on there. And that is going to eventually, not even eventually, pretty quickly heat up your pump whenever you go into bypass on there, because the water's getting pumped, shot on the bypass, pump, shot on the bypass. It's heating it up through friction. So that's going to mess.
Yeah, you can usually run about 3 to 5 minutes off the trigger before the pump, the water gets hot enough to start begin damaging the pumps and seals.
And it's just
I've seen pumps that have been running bypass too long where literally the check valves were melted, the plastic cages on the check valves were melted, the seals were melted. I've seen pumps where people set the pressure so high that they literally turned the seals inside out from the amount of pressure and load that was put on the seals, pushing them against the piston, that they just wore out and like flipped and got damaged.
But also let's think about how at least this is the spring unloader, not the K7, but think about this unloader. So you've got a spring in here, and whenever you start messing with this and you're back pressuring it and you're letting part of it go out, so you're now partially opening this. You're actually getting a bypass through it, right? I mean, and so you're a lot better off if you're really not bypassing this. You're not going to wear it out.
Yeah, what you're going to do is if you're all unloaders are designed to bypass a certain amount of water,
right?
Regardless. So there's always going to be a certain amount of bypass going, and that's normal. Up to 10%.
But if you ever let off your trigger and you notice and you look, now this whole thing, ka-chunk, rises up. I mean, it goes up 1/4 of an inch on there whenever it fully engages into bypass. It's just always been my theory is put the right tip in the dang thing and not screw with this whole function along in here.
Yeah, when you have employees, you don't really want to be messing with it. Again, it's a matter of setting it properly with the proper pressures and proper bypass pressure.
When I have employees,
people crank it down all the way, and I'm getting a full 3,500 psi now. Well, they let off the trigger and they're trapping 5,000 or 6,000 psi on the line because they cranked it down all the way and eliminated all the bypass. Well, all it's done, all the unloader's designed to do is regulate the maximum pressure that line can achieve, that you can have maximum amount of back pressure can achieve. It has nothing to do. It doesn't build pressure. It doesn't create pressure. What creates all the pressure is the tip. The amount of water going through the tip per minute is what creates the pressure. And a number 5 tip isn't a 5 gallon a minute tip. A number 5 tip could be a 30 gallon a minute tip, and it could be a 10 gallon a minute tip or a 2 gallon a minute tip. It depends on how much pressure you're doing, how much pressure you're trying to achieve. So the only way, as far as the math, if you want to think about for gallons per minute and tip size to be equal, so a 5 gallon a minute tip is 5 gallons a minute at 4,000 psi. A number 8 tip is 8 gallons a minute at 4,000 psi. A number 10 tip is 10 gallons a minute at 4,000 psi. Not 3,500, not 3,000. For 3,500 psi, an 8.5 tip might be the correct tip at 8 gallons a minute.
So this, for example, this tip that is matched to this, the tip that came with this 5.5 gallon machine, and this is a 2,500 psi machine right here. The tip that they put on there is a 1565. It's what came from the factory. This isn't something that we put on there. It's what came from the factory.
So a 6.5 nozzle is the correct size nozzle for 5.5 gallons a minute at 2,500.
So here is the green, again, 25 at, you probably can't read that, but at 6.5 on there.
So I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but I actually just got a message from Scott. We were talking about nozzles. And you probably, there's a brand new nozzle.
Got it.
There's the exact same nozzle.
Dang.
You see how they wore.
Yeah. And Scott.
There's another one. These are all the same size.
Mm-hmm.
That's all the same size nozzle.
Yep.
right? And that's
I
how
haven't
they
even
wear.
gotten to
So
his comments.
apparently Scott's too cheap to buy new nozzles and use them. He lets them run them down to their nubs.
Scott.
Scott, give Ray a call. He'll take care of you.
So, Nick, going back to that battery charging thing, he said check your ground on there as well.
Yep.
That could be an issue there.
Bad ground, bad cables.
Yep. Let me get through some of these comments. Arizona, no bleach, no salt, still connections will corrode.
Yep.
Don't waste your time and money on rebuilding Suttner guns. Agreed.
The Suttner guns are actually really easy to repair. They have a cartridge system, and a lot of times the cartridges can be a lot less. The issue needs to be is it's a matter of buying the right gun, depending on what you're doing. Because if you're running anything with bleach, you want a ceramic gun. You want a ceramic ball gun. If you're running anything with a stainless gun, anything with a stainless ball, they're just going to last you 3 or 4 days and start leaking.
I really wish people would buy guns because you sent me like 1,000 of them.
So that one orange one, is that the blue or the red one?
That's the orange. That's the chemical gun right there.
Is that the one with the red?
Yes.
So that's got the ceramic ball in it. So if you're running anything with bleach, that will outlast a regular one, 20 to 1.
Right.
Any bleaches or acids or two-stepping, that's all I ever ran in fleet washing. And my guns, I'd only have to replace them a couple times a year when they ran them over or dragged them behind the truck for an hour.
Here's a hell of a compliment. Look at there.
Yeah. Well, that's that. I don't know if that's saying much or
smarter. Yeah, it really isn't saying much, but it's smarter too, though. So, how about this? Put a three-way valve on the bottom of the pro switch. You can open it and drain the bowl and flush with fresh water.
You could. Part of the issue you run into why we don't put three-way ball valves on the outlet is they're not rated for the pressure that the booster pumps can produce. And then they end up breaking.
I did take Scott to a great breakfast buffet. I did.
Wait, what? I didn't go out to breakfast. I did get Chick-fil-A sandwiches that one time I was there. So that was all right.
Well, that was in Orlando that I took him. See, we actually deliver. We deliver to clients like Scott.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, well, I haven't made client status. I'm on the other end of that.
Yeah, you're the opposite. You're the person that takes money from me.
I'm not the nice guy. I'm the bad guy.
You ought to buy me breakfast.
Yeah. Oops.
All right. So, what did the fish say to the pastor? I have a confession to make. Great. There's Paul's status tomorrow. Thank you.
See, it worked because of your reaction. That's the funny part. That's the best part. I just love watching the reaction.
Is that Paul guy new? Yeah. He said.
Yep.
Thermoshock is Leslie. Thermoshock is not good for ceramic piston.
That can crack the pistons if you get them running in bypass too long. They get too hot. You squeeze the trigger. The cold water can cause them to crack.
I love this advice, especially if you're running crews, especially if people are working on your trucks for you. Plain and simple, don't touch it. I mean, don't screw with the unloader. Don't let them unload it. Don't let them touch it. Get these without the adjustment nozzles. Get it set it like the old what was the Ronco, the air fryer they had, or the grill. Set it and forget it. Get the green springs, get the blue springs, set it and forget it.
Well, what you'll notice on a lot of the newer equipment that's coming out, they're using a glue pen to mark the settings of the unloader so that they can tell if it's been adjusted or messed with, because that will void the warranty as far as some of the things are concerned.
Why mess with the unloader when you can throttle the engine down a little bit?
You can. It doesn't change the setting of the unloader. It'll still bypass at that pressure. You just want to cheese the MAC pressure out of the same smaller tip.
Yep. Nick's gonna need that chem gun. Absolutely. Place mine with ceramic. They only lasted 3 weeks. I don't know.
I don't know what you're running through them. You might be getting some debris stuck in them or something then. I would probably go with the General YG 5000C then and see if that holds up longer for you.
Oh God, here it starts now. Why did Tigger look in the toilet? He was looking for poo. Ugh.
I'm sorry.
Um,
Those reactions are the best.
what's the difference between a green spring and a blue spring unloader?
The color of the spring. Just like literally, it's the green spring unloader will have 2 bypass ports. The blue spring unloader has 1 bypass port, and then the other difference is the color of the spring.
And then you get up into the yellows and orange, and that's a higher gallons per.
Well, yeah, those are typically like a giant or higher pressure. Just kind of, it's more of a signifier than anything.
In y'all's opinion, how does a 1 horsepower booster compare to a Udor Zeta 10 GPM? I think you're going to get more. My personal opinion, I don't know. I'll let you. Let me do this first here, because I've used them both for washing. The Udor Zeta 10 GPM is an absolute beast. It is a monster of a pump, and you can spray a solid 10, 15 foot further with the right nozzle, the right hoses, than you can with a 1 horsepower booster pump. They're amazing pumps. Now, here's the con. Go to an exploded, so the Udor booster pump, or the Udor Zeta compared to a Gould's booster, I've got 4 replacement parts. I've got the cups, the diffusers, and the impellers, and then maybe some other random stuff. On an Udor Zeta, I have approximately 235 different pieces that could go wrong. My personal opinion on it. But they're amazing pumps. Don't get me wrong. Paul?
Yeah, you're right and correct. You're talking a couple gallons more volume out of the Zeta, higher pressure out of the Zeta, self-priming. There's some really good things with it. The booster pump is designed to be a quieter operating type system. It works really well when primed properly. They work really good. The Zeta can give you too much volume depending on how you're using it. But it also gives you the flexibility to reduce that and throttle that back because it does bypass. You can throttle that back to a small cone nozzle up to the full 10 gallons a minute. So you have a little bit of flexibility in there. From a standpoint, both of them are a little bit air sensitive. The diffusers don't like air, and the Zeta check valves don't like air, and the tubes don't like air. Really, what it comes down to, it's kind of a personal preference type thing. I really like using the boosters because they're quiet. They spray nice. It's not too much pressure. You can get good distance. You can get good coverage. You can get just about everything you need. There's situations where the Zeta where I just need that extra range. I need that volume. I need that pressure for cleaning. There's no right or wrong to it.
Right.
But the Zeta will outperform a booster pump all day long.
All day long.
Yeah, you're comparing an 8 gallon a minute pressure washer to a 5 gallon a minute pressure washer.
100%.
They're both going to work. Which one's better depends on the job.
Yeah. And then whenever something goes, and again, I'm a booster guy, and when something goes wrong with the Udor Zeta, there's a lot more things that could potentially go wrong with it. However, most likely it's going to be because it wasn't primed correctly, and you get air in that triangle, and it's going to be either a seal or part of the triangle, that splits because of an air hammer going up against it. And
the Zeta, the Comet 40P, kind of the same thing as the Zeta. They work well. They're a little less air sensitive, but they are also air sensitive. All the units
Oh,
are.
everything's
None of the stuff
this
is
whole
designed to pump air. It's all designed to pump liquids.
pressure washers, Udors, Comets, boosters, proportioners, everything is air sensitive in this industry. I mean, it really is. It is what it is. I mean, this is why if there's something to take away from this show tonight is, by God, go and check for your water leaks and your air leaks. And if you have a water leak, then you have an air leak. Would you not say that?
You can have an air leak without a water leak.
You can have an air leak without a water leak, but if you have a water leak, then you also have the potential for an air leak.
If you have a water leak, you have an air leak.
Yeah, correct.
Unless it's on the pressure side,
But
I guess.
you can have a water leak. You can have an air leak without water, but if you have a water leak, then you also have an air leak.
Yeah, it depends on where it is.
Correct.
If it's a water leak on the inlet side, you have a water leak and an air leak. If it's a water leak on the outlet side, you have a water leak because it's on the outlet side, it's under pressure.
Blue mark. Orange guns with a blue mark. Original equipment lasted a couple of years. The ceramic replacement started leaking after 3 weeks on both that I repaired.
Well, the blue one is not
ceramic.
The blue one's not ceramic. The red one, the orange gun with the red outlet is ceramic.
Yeah, I'm out of, and that's coming in my next thing. So the orange gun right there, that is a ceramic. The blue that goes right there, that is stainless steel. So somebody, something's wrong. So Andrew Snyder, he likes my shirt. He doesn't like yours.
I have a nice shirt underneath, see? Well, see, I was working out in the shop today, and I'm too cheap to turn the heat up, so I had this on to keep me warm.
Best booster trigger gun we've been using, Gilmore. Anything better, more professional, that lasts longer? Gilmores don't last like they used to. I was a big fan of Gilmores, but I swear something's changed about them, because over the past 1.5 to 2 years that I was using them, they started like really not lasting long. So hold on.
Yep. There's the blue Washdown guns. They're a little bit more durable. That's going to give you the same type of spray pattern. They can handle the pressure. You can use the poly guns. We've had really good luck with the poly guns. And then you could do something like that where you got the ability to change
this is a gun that we're all familiar with this body, with this Suttner body here, right? And but it will change. This will change from a stream to a shower. You also have this nice cone that's protective of you. I haven't tried this with a booster yet. I'm going to get some video of this going with the booster to see how it looks with 8 gallons a minute flowing through it. All right, let's see. Modification with a quick change out of the orange handled low pressure poly trigger gun. Stainless 1/2-inch. Guys tested it. A big job, worked well. Means when these guns crap out, it's an easier, faster replacement.
Modification to change out the orange handle low pressure only trigger gun. Oh yeah, so he just put instead of screwing it into the gun there, he put a quick connect, a 1/2-inch quick connect on the inlet. Yeah. Because it's 1/2-inch, so you can. We've done that before. 1/2-inch stainless fittings. It's simple, real easy. You can change guns. You can do multiple types of guns with that. We used to set up our equipment like that at shows for doing demos and everything like that, so you could see all the different guns and how they worked.
Scott says just do with a 2-horse booster and customize the proportioner.
Yeah, the high flow proportioner will work with the 2-horse. You just want to something like that. You probably want to run 3/4 lines instead of the 1/2-inch lines.
So when you don't have positive water pressure to run a booster, that's how we consider 8 at this point industrial job sites. Yeah, the nice thing about the Udors and Comets is they're self-priming, and that is a problem, with the boosters at this point. Still, we always have that issue. Have to get them primed. Lube Gilmore's every day with WD-40. Lay that back for me. I'll send you the credit card after the stream. I got plenty of them, Rich. You're good. And gas booster availability. What do we got on there?
Well, you got the one on your floor. The new direct drive clutch booster is going to be late summer. We're still looking at, I think, another 8 weeks for the clutches to come in. The other issue we're going to have is motors.
Right.
We just don't know. We're trying to source some other ones, but we're having issues finding the smaller 160 size motors.
I'll see. So I don't think I'm going to be able to reach back to there, but over behind that thing, you can see on top of there is a gas booster with a proportioner and a clutch drive system sitting up there. So they are out here. The direct drives, yeah, we got a problem with them, trying to find them.
Yep. So it's going to be a while. I mean, we ordered them again with the supply chain being what it is and manufacturing. Getting new projects done is a lot slower than it used to be because everybody's focusing on just regular production runs of stuff that they have orders for. So they don't have time. I don't know where all the manpower went that used to be in the workforce, but
they all died from COVID.
Apparently, yeah, they did. And then they don't have anybody to replace them at work. So, the issues that we're hearing is last year it was poly resin after the Texas freeze that they couldn't get tanks done. And now it's not the poly resin, it's labor. Some of the tank manufacturers, they want to run 6 24-hour-a-day shifts, and they're only able to run 4 24-hour-a-day shifts because they don't have the manpower.
It's amazing.
And
I didn't. I know I told you come on for an hour show tonight, and it's now been like an hour and 50.
Yeah, I'm a little upset. I missed Paw Patrol,
I'm
but
sorry.
I think I got it recorded. So
I know you want to know what Ryder and Sky and all this the pups.
Yeah, I was kidding. I didn't know their names, but now that you told me, thanks.
I do. I have a 6-year-old grandson.
Yeah. You knew what they were before your 6-year-old.
Yeah, you're probably right. Actually, that's my favorite book to read at night. So, the Paw Patrol is on a roll. Ryder and the pups are going. Yeah, stop. Yeah, I know this book by heart. Andrew Snyder, they're all working at Quick Trips and Quick Stars. You can bypass your pressure washer again with just a water hose splitter, one side to prime the booster and the other back to your tank to relieve pressure, adjust as needed. That is true.
Yeah, you just got to be careful. You don't want to over pressurize the system and cause hoses to blow off. But, putting it on a T or something where it has easy flow. I would just be careful with if you're going to put a ball valve or something on there, you're going to have issues. Somebody one day will turn the ball valve closed instead of not thinking about it and end up blowing all the hoses off the outlet.
Kind of like what we were talking about using the blue guns.
Yep.
There with the pressure washer to rinse, and it's just like I was explaining to somebody the other day, and
well, Gene is right. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily correct.
Correct, yeah,
because it's just you got to I get it. I mean, I've done all that stuff myself in the years, but when you got employees,
there's things that we have to do there's things that we have to do. Well, first up, there's things that you have to do as an employer, and then there's things that we have to do as a company that may seem excessive, but like right here, prime example. So any booster pump that I used to ever buy, can you hear me okay still?
Yep.
Okay. So any booster pump that I ever used to buy, I would wire up direct to right here. Whenever I bought a bare booster pump, I never put a GCFI on there. However, as a company, we can't sit there and sell a wired booster pump that doesn't have a GCF around water that doesn't have a GCFI on there. Am I correct on that?
That's correct.
Yes. So, whether or not you use it or
And
not.
as an employer, if you remove that and somebody gets injured,
right,
you're in
got a
trouble.
problem. Right, exactly. Oh, look at there, Tris. Don't forget about Jason Rubble, another Paw Patrol fan right there. So
There you go.
Absolutely. And yeah, somebody was asking about what does the ACU stand for? That's Agent Clean University from Andrew Snyder, a fantastic training program. Love it. The guys from Agent Clean created an amazing training program.
Yep.
Paul, thank you for your time. We need to get on. People will keep asking questions. We've had incredible viewership tonight and so engaged with the audience, but thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm glad I could finally make it. Sorry if you missed the Final Four.
David Rivas came on. Now, finally, thanks, David. Appreciate you.
Was it halftime or something?
I guess so.
Might be. I don't know. How long is the game?
I have no idea.
I don't be over already. You might have missed the whole thing. That's all right. The Badgers aren't in it, so I don't care.
Didn't care. We were in the I believe the what do they call the NIT? The
the NIT.
The 65th best team in America. The winner of the NIT.
Hey, but you made the list. So what you're saying is there's a chance.
Oh man! Oh, here it is. There we go. Andrew's watching it. NC 22, Kansas 20.
Oh, wow! It just got started then, I think.
Yep, absolutely. Well, guys, thank y'all very much. We're here every Monday, and Paul, again, thank you for your incredible knowledge. You brought a lot to this show. Gee, good to have a pressure washer nerd on. I love it.
Well, guys, thanks everybody for the comments and getting involved, and thank you for having me on. And I'll say hi to Steve now. I can say hi to Steve because he probably gave up watching because he was mad I didn't give him a shout out.
Oh my God, the short people are so just they're
yeah. Be careful. Be careful. You got to go home yet.
Oh shit, that's right. No, that's how I know this.
Well, you got that. Gonna have to sleep on the couch in the back room.
All right, sign off. Say good night, Paul, and don't leave. Good night.
Good night, everybody.